Welcome to the video. I'm Timothy, and today I want to talk about Ray Bradbury's story, The Veldt. Bradbury published this story in 1950, and in it he imagines a world that is technologically advanced in every way. The story centers on the Hadley family, George and Lydia, and their children Peter and Wendy. In the story, they live in a house that is technologically infused from top to bottom. They have a kitchen that cooks and serves meals for them. The lights throughout the house will turn on and off as members of the family move through the house. They have beds that rock them to sleep, and they even have machines for tying their shoes for them. The house does everything for them. At the heart of the house and the heart of the story is a room called the nursery. It's described as being 40 feet wide by 40 feet long and 30 feet high, and the walls are glass, and behind them are projections and mental tape and different pieces of technology that can take whatever someone imagines and bring it to life visually. You can see whatever it is you want to. It also has things that Bradbury refers to as odorophonics and sonics and things like that that will also create the smell and the temperature that you need. So in this story, for example, Peter and Wendy like to imagine an African veldt. And so it'll come to life. They will see the grass and they will see the blue sky with the sun, and they'll be able to feel the sun beating down on them. The heat will be there. They can feel the breeze. They can hear the lions in the distance and hear the grass swaying in the breeze. They smell the heat. They feel everything. And it's as if they're there, but the room is just creating that for them, and nothing's actually there except for the walls, the ceiling, and the floor. Whenever I read The Veldt, I can't help but think about how amazing it would be to have a room like the nursery. In terms of education, you could go anywhere you wanted to. You could explore the top of Mount Everest, or the bottom of the ocean, or even the inside of an active volcano. You could walk on Mars or the surface of the moon. And as Peter and Wendy do at times in the story, you could even go inside the world of a favorite book. I would love to be able to walk through the Shire and Middle Earth from Lord of the Rings and from The Hobbit and be able to explore that world. But the problem is, in the story, Peter and Wendy become addicted to the room, essentially. They start disobeying their parents, and they throw tantrums, and there are a lot of issues because of the nursery. At a certain point in the story, George and Lydia realize that maybe they need to turn the nursery off. Maybe Peter and Wendy need a bit of a break from the nursery, this piece of technology that they've become dependent on in many ways. And George and Lydia have this conversation. George begins by looking at Lydia and stating, "You've been working too hard. You need a rest." I don't know, she said, blowing her nose, sitting down in a chair that immediately began to rock and comfort her. "Maybe I don't have enough to do. Maybe I have time to think too much. Why don't we shut the whole house off for a few days and take a vacation?" "You mean you want to fry my eggs for me?" "Yes," she nodded. "And darn my socks?" "Yes," a frantic, watery-eyed nodding. "And sweep the house?" "Yes, yes, oh yes." "But I thought that's why we bought this house, so we wouldn't have to do anything." "That's just it. I feel like I don't belong here. The house is wife and mother now, and nursemaid. Can I compete with an African veldt? Can I give a bath and scrub the children as efficiently or quickly as the automatic scrub bath can? I cannot. And it isn't just me, it's you. You've been awfully nervous lately." "I suppose I have been smoking too much." "You look as if you didn't know what to do with yourself in this house, either. You smoke a little more every morning and drink a little more every afternoon and need a little more sedative every night. You're beginning to feel unnecessary, too." At this point in the story, we get to the lesson that I really want to strike home with my students. Before this story, we talk about technology and about how people can become too dependent or reliant on technology, even addicted. Students often bring up cell phones and social media as something that they see as a problem for themselves and for their friends and peers. But we talk about how cell phones, for example, serve great purposes. If you're in an emergency, a cell phone is a handy tool to have. In class, sometimes I have my students look up something on their cell phone, and they can access a wealth of knowledge. They can look up a word in a dictionary on the phone. They can do so much with it that's good. But sometimes when I'm trying to teach, they'll be on their phone doing something that they shouldn't be. Sometimes I'll even find them watching a YouTube video, or playing a game on their phone, or texting friends, or even texting their parents. And it gets in the way of their education. The answer is not, though, to throw out the technology. Get rid of cell phones. Same with social media. We often hear about how social media can affect people's self-esteem. People sometimes become depressed because they use social media a lot. And people sometimes bully through social media. But it also helps us connect. Sometimes people network for businesses. People can connect with family who live on the other side of the country or the world. It's amazing what we can do with technology. But as George and Lydia found in the Veldt, it can get in the way. And Bradbury is trying to tell us to watch out for this. The big thing from that quote that I just read is that Lydia felt like she had lost her connection to her family, the relationships. And she mentions losing her purpose. She feels a lack of purpose, and so she just drifts through life. Through this story, I think Bradbury is telling us that there are two things that really make life worth living. One is relationships. The people we know, the way we connect and interact with them. And the second is purpose. Having a purpose in life can do so much for someone's emotional health and well-being. So through this story, what I want my students to know is technology is great, but we can't let it get in the way of our relationships or our purpose. So I want you to think about this, right? Manage our technology use. Don't let it get in the way of relationships or purpose. We need to live life to the fullest. Sometimes that means we use technology, but sometimes we need to set the technology aside. We need to turn off the TV, turn off the computer, turn off the cell phone, or just set them aside and live. So go ahead, use your technology, but don't lose yourself. Class dismissed.